Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 116. So, folks, you know exactly what we're talking about tonight, right? Could it be any other topic besides Prince Andrew? This guy is literally making a mockery of not only himself, but of the whole entire royal family, and I could not be happier to see it. It is about time someone set this whole entire charade aflame. Okay? And if it takes Prince Andrew being outed and him being the catalyst for this whole entire archaic idea of a monarchy to be exposed and eventually done away with, then hey, I am totally on board with that. And I don't blame the prince, whatever his name is, and the American lady that he's married to, Meghan, whatever her name is. I don't blame them for splitting. Would you want to be associated with Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew at this point? I mean, it seems like the royal family, they just don't give a hell. They don't care that he was associated with Epstein. They don't care that he's being credibly accused by somebody who is proven to be one of the most credible people to ever bring allegations against people like this, right? Virginia Roberts is proven to be super credible, folks, okay? And that's what it all comes down to, credibility. And Virginia Roberts has it, and Prince Andrew does not. And boy, I'm sure he hates that. The shoe is on the other foot for once. Prince Andrew is not the one in a place of power this time, folks. Prince Andrew is the one facing scrutiny. Prince Andrew is the one facing questions. And I bet, you know what? I bet it feels good in some sense for these victims. Excuse me, not even victims, folks. Let's call them what they are, survivors. I bet you it feels good, at the very least, to see these people at least catching some scrutiny. And, you know, it's a long road ahead. Nobody's putting the cart before the horse here. Nobody, Andrew hasn't even been, indicted or subpoenaed or anything like that. But what it does show at the very least is there's some movement here, and then they can't ignore it any longer. For Berman to come out and publicly name to come out and publicly call Andrew out like that, that's pretty unheard of. They really don't do that kind of stuff. They usually play their cards really close to the vest, and I wonder if it's either Berman posturing or if Berman is firing a shot over the bow and saying, well, we ignored this for, since the 90s. We've ignored the people coming forward and telling us about this, but now we're getting serious. I mean, is that what they're doing? I don't know. I really don't know the motivation for calling Andrew out like this. It could be a strategy to publicly, put more pressure on him to come out and talk. But what I will say is this. It has people talking. And if people are talking, then this story is in the news. And if this story is in the news, it's exactly where it should be at this point, folks. Because, look, let's be honest. We are not talking about a conspiracy theory here. We're talking about a cover-up of epic proportions, a cover-up that spans decades, and a cover-up that spans continents. And this is what we're dealing with, not a conspiracy theory. All right, the only conspiracy going on was the ongoing criminal conspiracy that all of these people, Jeffrey Epstein and his ilk, were involved in. That's the only conspiracy going on here, folks, all right? So it's nice to see that this story is being kept in the news, even if it's not, full bore, these people getting, perp walked out of their houses, but at least it keeps the story in the news and it keeps people talking. And at the end of the day, that's important, because the more people that are aware of what truly went on in this Jeffrey Epstein case, and the more people that start to understand that it wasn't happening in a vacuum and it wasn't happening with, Epstein wasn't getting lucky for decades, folks, okay? He doesn't have that kind of luck. Nobody does. He was being protected, and it's all coming out for us to see. How many more people have to come forward and say that, folks? How many more people have to go on record and say that this was an intelligence operation before the media, at the very least, does their due diligence? But they won't, and we all know why. The corporate media, the legacy media, they are absolutely and utterly controlled by the corporate monarchy that rules the whole entire world at this point. And they act as their surrogate, the mouthpiece for these robber barons who control our lives. And I know that sounds cynical, and it sounds a bit, maybe it's a bit a bit of hyperbole, but at the end of the day, you understand what I'm getting at. These very few rich people are making all the decisions and shaping the way we live our lives by having so much influence to exert over these politicians, and it's all about the money. That's where it all starts. And then when it comes to obviously Epstein and his trafficking ring, well, it was something even above and beyond just the pressure of being a donor. They were compiling dossiers on people. They were filming everything that went on in every single one of those homes so that they would have the blackmail power over these upper crust society folks. And once they have that power over them, there is no way that the people who are being, who got caught up in the blackmail scheme can ever go against what Epstein and ultimately his handlers want them to do. So you understand how it's such a dangerous situation, right? Not just for the country as a whole, because it definitely is when you have people like this, unelected officials with basically unlimited power, but for the girls especially who get caught up in the net, who are just used as disposable, throwaway, mean-nothing people. And it angers me, folks. It really bothers me. It to no end that these girls have went voiceless for so long, and then when they do speak out, they get utterly demolished by certain people in the media. It's an absolute joke, and the symbiotic relationship between Epstein, the media, and our corporate overlords cannot be overlooked, and it cannot be understated at this point. It must be put on blast for everybody to see. All right, now I'm sorry about the 7-minute monologue that I just went on, but that had to be said. All right, so the article we have tonight is from the Daily Beast, and it has to do with Prince Andrew, obviously. Well, the headline of the article is, Prince Andrew does nothing to help the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Meanwhile, the royal family burns. The author of the article, Tom Sykes. Published January 28th, 2020 at 7:23 a.m. Eastern Time, but updated at 6:13 p.m. Eastern Time. That was the message that Buckingham Palace, in an astonishing display of arrogance... Oh, excuse me. Let's start at the top here. I missed a little bit. Prince Andrew's working on it. That was the message that Buckingham Palace, in an astonishing display of arrogance, delivered to the world Tuesday morning after a shocking and unprecedented statement by New York prosecutor Jeffrey Berman, who said the prince had offered zero cooperation on its investigations into Jeffrey Epstein. And, folks, when I heard the statement by Berman, I had to do a double take. I knew it was significant because I know how these operations usually work, these investigations. I know that they play their cards really close to the vest, and usually that's a good thing, right? They don't want to give up any information they might have so that the defense can formulate a strategy. But in this instance, with all of the public pressure, and that's you, folks, remember, that is you. If you ever feel discouraged in this case and you feel like we're just spinning our wheels and we're stuck in neutral and there's nothing, there's never going to be justice, and just think about where we were when Jeffrey Epstein got arrested the last time and how far it's come since then. The scrutiny for Ghislaine Maxwell, her being under investigation, Prince Andrew facing serious scrutiny, Glenn Dubin stepping down from his company, Alan Dershowitz forced to face all sorts of questions, from certain outlets anyway. And, it's not people being arrested yet, but we all know that the hand of the law moves very slowly. The hand of justice moves slowly in this country. And it's, at the very least, if you look back to where we were when we started and to where we are now, there is definitely movement here, folks. The interest has ramped up a lot. Right? There are a lot of people who are interested in this case, and that's all because of you talking to your friends, sharing different content with people, sharing content with each other. And at the end of the day, that's the only way that we could ever fight back against these people. And they don't know how to deal with it, folks. They've never had to deal with social media before when they were trying to hatch one of their plots. And now we're all connected. We don't need them. We can bypass them and we can talk to each other directly. And that terrifies them because their narrative is no longer the only narrative out there, folks, right? Their narrative is not the only narrative that people are hearing. And for the first time in history, the public is taking it to these people in an unheard of fashion. And I say, keep it up, folks. Keep up the full court press. Andrew pledged his assistance in a public statement issued as he tried to repair the damage done by his disastrous BBC interview, saying at the time, "I am willing to help any appropriate law enforcement agency with their investigations if required. Paging Prince Andrew, paging the prince. You've been required. They've asked, where are you? Why aren't you talking to them? If you're an innocent man, you would step forward. Maybe you have some information that you don't even know would be important to the case. Maybe you have some information that you have no idea that would be pertinent to this case, that would be important to this case, and you keeping silent is damning." Right? That could be that. Well, if you're not guilty, wouldn't you feel bad if you think you might have seen something, maybe even if it's something that you might not even know was wrong? Wouldn't you want to talk to the FBI at this point if you were around Epstein that much? If you were an innocent man, come forward and clear your name and try and help these girls get the justice they deserve? I know I would. I know I'd be at the FBI's office before they opened. The embassy, wherever they want to talk to me, is where I would go. Because I have news for you. Innocent people hear about stuff like this and they are incensed. They are ready to just explode with anger. All right? They don't try and, deny it and ignore it and, make canned statements and let the palace have a statement on your behalf and none of that jazz. You step up like a man. And you face the music. You created this shitstorm, buddy. You created it. Nobody else. You have no one to blame but yourself. In the actual interview, he had failed to express regret for his friendship with Epstein, offered a variety of bizarre excuses to deny the claims of Virginia Roberts, and did not show any form of compassion for her or Epstein's victims. That's right, he showed no compassion because he has no compassion for these ladies. He has zero compassion for these ladies. You know what he cares about? He cares about fixing his image however he can do that. Whatever vehicle he can use to get there, that's what he wants to do. And he cares about not losing out on the dough that he's losing out on. That's it. That's all these people care about. Power and money. Officially, the palace is refusing to comment at all, arguing that Andrew, who was stripped of his royal duties last year, is no longer formally represented by the palace. But in a series of off-the-record briefings, journalists were told that the issue was being dealt with by the Duke of York's legal team. Oh, isn't that nice? I'm sure that's going to be, bolstered when Alan Dershowitz is done with President Trump. I'm sure he's just going to go ahead and jump on Prince Andrew's legal team as well. Get the trifecta going, huh? Him, Starr, and Andrew. It'll be a nice reunion for all of them. It'll be perfect. Dershowitz and Andrew can, they could swap stories about their adventures with Epstein. All the time they spent with Epstein. Absolutely disgusting, folks. It disgusts me. These people disgust me. Ugh, I can't even explain to you how disgusting they are. Keep calm and carry on, eh? One might almost have thought that the British monarchy had not been a roiling tempest of crisis management for the past 6 months. So casual has been the response to this latest disaster to afflict the firm. And what does this mean, the firm? What is this firm stuff? I'm not calling you the firm, okay? You're the royal family, and you're lucky I call you that. I should call you the grifter family. The family of beggars that, stays stuck on the teat of the English people. Enough already, all right? You have plenty of money squirreled away. Stop accepting public money and go right off into the sunset on your farm or whatever the hell it is, wherever it is you live over there. Enough with you people. Into the news void left by the palace have leapt celebrity attorneys Lisa Bloom and her mother, Gloria Allred, who between them are representing at least 6 of Epstein's alleged victims, and Virginia Roberts herself, who alleges she was forced to have sex with Andrew several times and was photographed with him at Ghislaine Maxwell's house. So just to be clear, Gloria Allred and Bloom are not representing Virginia Roberts, but they're saying that Allred and Bloom are representing 6 Epstein victims, survivors, I'll call them again. Remember, survivors is the word I like to use here. And that Virginia Roberts herself, meaning she is also calling out Prince Andrew. At least that's what I'm getting out of that article, that part of the article there. Bloom told the BBC the alleged victims were outraged by the Duke of York not assisting the U.S. authorities and said, "I am glad that Jeffrey Berman has gone public to try to embarrass Prince Andrew, who made one statement and then behind closed doors is doing something very different. The 5 Epstein survivors who I represent are outraged and disappointed at Prince Andrew's behavior here. Well, so are we. Very rare I agree with Gloria Allred or her daughter, but in this instance, I do. It's outrageous to think that Prince Andrew is afforded some sort of special protection because he's a prince. I have news for you, Prince Andrew. No more special protections. All right? Your day is coming, pal. If Prince Andrew truly has done nothing wrong, then it's incumbent upon him to go and speak to the FBI at a time that's convenient for him and say what he knows. Perhaps he can help bring other people to justice. I was just saying that earlier, and I agree with that as well. Even if you don't have anything, you didn't do anything, say he is completely innocent, which I do not believe, but say he was. Okay? An innocent man does not hide the truth like this. An innocent man faces stuff like this head on. That's what innocent men do, okay? They don't hide. They don't, act like, well, I'm a royal. I don't have to answer this. That's over. That phase of this is over, Prince Andrew. You need to answer some questions, my guy, either on your own or if you have to be compelled to do so. Allred said Tuesday morning that she had sent a letter to Prince Andrew's home urging him to cooperate, but had not received a response. She told BBC Radio 4's Today, "No response is the same as zero cooperation. This is ridiculous. It's just not acceptable. Prince Andrew has a moral obligation to volunteer to speak to law enforcement. That's what he said he would do." Yeah, hey, I thought he was a man of honor. Again, this is the same guy who says it was the honorable thing to do to hop on a plane, fly across the ocean to break off his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. That's the honorable thing to do. But it's not honorable to speak to the FBI when you're being accused by Virginia Roberts, who has been honest about everything else. It's not honorable to go and talk to the FBI. What? So honor doesn't only matter when it fits what you want to do. If you're an honorable person, you conduct yourself honorably at all times. And Prince Andrew, to even call himself honorable and to use that as an excuse to fly over to talk to Jeffrey Epstein and break up with Jeffrey Epstein, and then to not even acknowledge the FBI's request or the lawyer's requests, it just shows you the kind of man he is, and that he'll say anything, and that he's just a straight up liar. He has no credibility, especially standing next to somebody like Virginia Roberts, who at great detriment to herself and at great risk to her own life and her health, folks, okay? And her health, came out and challenged all of these animals. All right? Just look at them and you tell me which one you think is being honest. One can only wonder how the Queen 93 and Prince Philip 98 must be feeling at the speed with which their children have destroyed the royal virtues of discretion and irreproachability. The announcement in New York came after several incidents that showed Andrew had not lost the support of his mother, despite the allegations being made against him. Aw, that's right, Prince Andrew. Hide behind Mummy's skirt. You guys can have your tea party. You guys can have some crumpets. And, you can just drive your 93-year-old mother into the grave. You're just such a swell guy, Andrew, aren't you? The announcement in New York came after several incidents, that showed Andrew had not lost the support of his mother despite the allegations being made against him. He was pictured attending church with her, riding on the Windsor Great Park estate, and journalists have been briefed that Andrew has been supporting his mother through the turmoil of Harry and Meghan's departure from the royal family. How is that more turmoil than what Andrew is doing or did? I don't even understand what the big deal is. If Harry and Meghan want to go live their own life, who cares? Let them go live their own lives. What's the big effing deal? It's not a big deal here, folks. You know what a big deal is? Here's a big deal, okay? Prince Andrew is accused of being involved in a trafficking ring, folks. That's a big deal. He is credibly accused of not only being involved, but of abusing one of the girls. Okay? That is a big deal. Not what Meghan ate for dinner. Not that Meghan doesn't like the other royals. Not that whatever the other kid, Harry doesn't want to live there anymore. That's not a big deal, okay? That's what adults do. They move away from their families, okay? That happens. Nobody cares. Let them live their lives and focus on the real problem in the royal family, the real rot. And that is the lying buffoon Prince Andrew. As a reminder, here's Andrew reluctantly promising to help out if push came to shove. That moment has surely arrived. And then when you click on the link, there's a little clip of him from the interview with Emily Maitlis. So make sure you guys come here and you click on the link. Check out the Daily Beast. They've been doing really good work throughout this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. So make sure you give them the click and check out that little video from BBC. And look, folks, this whole thing with Prince Andrew and this coming out, it's all bad for him. It looks really bad for him. And the fact that he is still trying to ignore it and not come out and meet it head on, it just does not smack of an innocent man, in my opinion, folks. In my opinion, he is absolutely, positively guilty as hell of everything that he's being accused of. That's my opinion. Also, folks, I had a very, very interesting 2-hour conversation today with Maria Farmer. And you all know who Maria Farmer is here on the show. You all know what abuse she has been through and how she suffered at Jeffrey Epstein's hands. And her and I were discussing how it all came about, and the newest article that we read on air from ArtNet. That article, we were discussing a lot about that article and about Eileen Guggenheim and her part and the role that Eileen Guggenheim played. And on tomorrow's podcast, tomorrow morning, after I do the morning update for the evolution episode, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what Maria and I talked about on our phone conversation in regards to the Santa Fe trip that Eileen Guggenheim denied ever being on, and the fact that she basically was calling Maria a liar for all of these years. And then we had the second student come out, Ursula. I don't want to mispronounce her last name right now, but Ursula, the other student in the article, who came out and said that Eileen Guggenheim was absolutely on that trip as well to Santa Fe. So again, what it does is it just shows the depths that these people will go with their lies. And it was an eye-opening conversation speaking to Maria. She is one of the bravest, and I'll tell you what, I'll just leave it at that for now. She is a very, very, very brave woman. And what she did it took her a lot of courage to come forward the way she did. And it was a very telling conversation. And tomorrow, I'll read a little bit more. We'll do an evolution episode about it, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about what Maria and I were discussing. And I'll read an article from August, and it talks about Eileen Guggenheim and her, her role, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously I'll discuss a little bit about what Maria and I were talking about too, and add some of the stuff she told me. So that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow, folks. And we'll keep it rolling, and we'll keep it rocking, and we'll keep doing what we always do here on this podcast. And that is just digging for the truth, however we get there. Whatever these articles say, we'll just keep on digging, folks, and we're not going to let up. We're not going to be thrown off the scent, and we're not going to let people like Maria Farmer battle this alone anymore. Those days are over. All of us together demanding answers is the path to justice. I am convinced of that. And from what I've seen so far in this case, folks, from the movement we've had, you folks out there you're doing a great job. And I'm not just talking about in America. I mean, all over the world, Australia. I have people that send me emails from Japan. I've had emails from Africa. I've had emails from Europe, obviously, from South America, from Canada. So many people supporting the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's reign. And I was telling, Maria and I were talking about that on the phone as well. So, look, the message is getting out there, folks. People are listening, and together That's the only way we can ever enact change. And I truly hope that we continue to do that. And like I always say here, I'm just a little small part of this whole entire equation, right? We just have a small little footprint here, and we just do what we do, and that's it. You know, I'm not one of these people that you're going to see on every single social media platform and all of that stuff. That's just not who I am. I'm not a self-seller, really. That's not what I got into this for. I got into this in the beginning because of the corruption, but it's turned into something completely different, especially after, hearing the stories of these survivors. It's become, not only is the government corrupt for me, it has also become something where these women need to have justice and people need to go to prison. And that's it. That's the only way that this case can ever truly come to a conclusion where it's acceptable to the people at this point, because we're done. We have had enough, and the party is over for these clowns in the year 2020, folks. All right, everybody. I hope you all had an amazing Tuesday night. I will talk to you all tomorrow morning with the morning update, and then, like I said, for the evolution episode in the afternoon, we'll go a little bit deeper into what Maria and I talked about, and we'll just go from there, folks. And we'll keep doing what we do every single day, grinding 116 straight days here with a podcast for you guys. And that's it. That's all I can do. I'm doing everything that I possibly can do at this point to keep this story out there, folks. But really, at the end of the day, like I always say, it's about you. It ain't me. It's we. Because if it wasn't for you folks that were interested in this case, I'd just be running my fat mouth to my dad in the backyard, and I'm sure he's tired of hearing that. So again, thank you so much for, the support of the podcast, the emails I get, the people who have donated to the GoFundMe. Thank you so much for all of that. I never expected any of that, folks. Honestly, I never expected to be sitting here and talking to so many of you. We just broke 300,000 downloads today too. So we're at 300,000 downloads. We're expanding the footprint slowly but surely. More people are hopping on board and listening to what we have going on here. And look, none of this would be possible without the people that are locked in and just devouring the content that I and other content creators are putting out. And just the most important thing is that you share this stuff. And I don't even mean my podcast. If you share my podcast, that's great. That's awesome. I'd be really appreciative of it. But there's other content out there, folks. Make sure you're sharing it. Share it with like-minded individuals. Share it with people that don't share your opinions on this sort of thing. And you know what? If we can convert everybody that we come into contact with, great. That's obviously unrealistic, right? But if we provide the information of this case to people who might not have a real idea, a real grasp of it the way that we do, well, I think that a lot of heads will turn, and that seems to happen every time I talk about this case with people who truly don't know about it. So I'm getting a little long-winded right now. I'm sorry about that. So I'll let you guys go. We'll pick back up tomorrow morning, but just know that the grind never stops here. Your boy is completely consumed by this case, and I am completely and utterly dedicated to seeing this out to the very end, folks. All right, I'll be back tomorrow with the daily drop and the evolution episode, obviously, and the morning update. So if you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. And if you would like to help support the podcast, you can do that by clicking on the GoFundMe link inside of the description box. All right, everybody, I will talk to you tomorrow. I hope you all have a fantastic evening.